Hey everybody, Cam Sweet here from the Garage Connection, coming to you with the first of the mods to this mini excavator that I got here. Um, so anybody who's been following these mini excavators, you know that they almost require the addition of electric cooling fans. So much so that in the newer model, the L12, they went ahead and just built it with an electric coolant fan to cool the hydraulic fluid. So what I decided to do with this particular machine is I went on Amazon and I got some 6-inch slim 650 CFM radiator electric fan with mount kit. And the reason that I got this particular one is because it actually has sort of a shroud on it. And conveniently, this shroud is almost exactly the same size as the cutouts I have on the side of the machine. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through mounting and the electrical side of getting these fans installed to see how much of a difference it actually makes. So stay tuned. We're going to show you how we get this done. Okay, so you haven't missed anything. All I've done is pull off the back panel of the machine. Hopefully, if you're looking at doing this, you can figure that part out. So what we have here is we got 4 bolt holes that pretty much line up with the top and the bottom vent slots, okay? So what I did initially is I took some bolts here, and I happen to have 5/16 bolts. You could do it with smaller bolts. It's no big deal. So I took the bolts, I put them through the hole that I wanted to use, and I went ahead and threw it into the bottom of the fan mount. Okay, we got that one. Then the next thing I did is pivoted it up, and as you can see, it pretty much lines up exactly with that hole. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in there just temporarily. And then we're going to center it up. That looks pretty good. So then what I did is I went and I marked on the outside of the machine where to drill the next 2 holes, okay? I could just use these 2, yes, but with how much this thing moves around, I'm concerned about it maybe breaking off. So this is step 1. Now, obviously, the fan, when it's installed, is going to be on the inside. But because it's a hell of a lot easier to do it like this, I'm marking everything on the outside. We're going to drill a couple of holes, throw the fan on the inside, and then we're going to repeat for the one down here, okay? So we're going to do that right now, and we'll be back with the rest of this. Okay, so now that we got our holes drilled, what we're going to do is we're going to put this fan in. We're going to make sure that the electrical connections are coming out the top. It's going to make it a lot easier to tie it into the power. So I'm going to take this fan and sneak it behind the throttle and behind the wiring harness. Pop it into there. Pop it in there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get these snug down, and then we're going to do the exact same process on the lower fan also. We're going to wire both of these fans so they're going to be sucking air in to the engine housing. All right, so I'll be back in a second once I pop the lower fan in there, and then we'll move on to the electrical. Okay, so there we have it. As far as the installation goes, right, all we see from the outside of the machine is these 8 bolts. I really like this because not that it looks stock, but we have other hardware on the excavator itself. So if you didn't know any better, you would think it just came like that. And then we transition around to the inside. We see we have the double stack of cooling fans right there. And I have electrical connections at the top of each one. So now we're going to go over how to wire them in and what I think is the best way to attach them to the electrical system. So the thing we got to do now, we got to figure out which way the fan is turning and which one of these two needs to be on the positive and which one needs to be on the negative. The cool part with these fans is if you switch the two of them, they turn the other way. The best way I've seen to do this, you got to make sure you get all this insulation off, is turn the battery switch on, and then you have a good positive and negative right here on the hour meter. So what you want to do is just touch and then see which way that it's going. So that looks like it's going to be blowing in. Okay, so what we need to make sure is our blue is on our positive and our black is on our negative. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is where we're actually going to get this power from. So what a lot of people don't realize, this battery disconnect does not interrupt the positive. It actually interrupts the ground wire coming from the battery. So we have it coming from the battery and then going to the engine block, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize this as my switch to turn the fans on and off. Now, I like this because the fans will always run if the battery disconnect is on. So when you turn the battery disconnect on, if the fans don't run right, there's a good chance that you're losing charge in your batteries. And also when you shut the machine off, the fans will remain running. So it'll be a good reminder to go ahead and shut that battery disconnect off. So down here we got the battery, and I took off the foot panel and I took off this back panel that we can see the engine compartment with. It's just a few bolts. You could probably do this without taking it off, but it's a pain and just easier to see. So obviously right down here we got the battery, and we can see our two cables, our positive and our negative, coming off the battery. Now the positive cable, you can't really see it that well, but it runs down underneath the starter, and there's a big lug that it connects to. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and pull the positive for the fan off of. All right, so I'm going to disconnect that terminal, and I'm going to run a fused positive connection from there and go over to the positive side of the fans. Now this is going to be the best way to tap into it because it's a solid connection. It comes right from the battery. And then from the negative, this is coming from our battery switch, and you can see that there's a stud on the motor that it connects to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the negative for the fans right off that stud. We're going to join it into the new wiring harness that I'm making, and we're going to put it right up into the fans. Now this, I feel, is the best way to do this, and it seems the most simple, and also it's a very, very solid connection. It's going to keep it away from the exhaust and any chance of it getting burned or tangled in anything. So down here is a close-up shot of the connections that I made under the starter. I just wanted to give you a better look at what's going on here. So obviously the line that I put in is this black one right here. And when you go ahead and take this terminal off, you want to make sure that you keep the nut and the lock washer and the regular washer, because it's going to fall off and go down inside the excavator and you won't be able to find it again. All right, so make sure all the different connections go back on the terminal when you take it off. Try not to disturb that blue wire that goes over the top. That is for your start engaged. But this is where we're going to pull off that positive. Okay, so here we have it. So what I have is I kind of mirrored the wiring harness that was already existing in here. So I have my fuse right here. I put a 10 amp fuse in. And then this wiring harness comes up and we transition to the back here. So the wiring harness comes up and it connects to my fans right here. Now I chose to put the same I put a female end on the fan and a male end on the supply, because if I choose, I can reverse the polarity at any time and make the fans blow the other way. So now it comes time to test it. So we're going to take our battery disconnect and we're going to throw it. And there we have it. With a good breeze. You can see stuff flying around. And the fans are off. Easy enough. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for sticking around and seeing the conclusion of our fan install here on our mini excavator. So if you like this stuff, please like and subscribe, and we're going to be bringing a lot more of this stuff around to the channel. So for now, Cam Sweet from the Garage Connection, and stay on this.